demo time. Oh, okay.
Well, no, he can bring it back. He was you might bring that back.
Oh, I talked to him. How do we have everything?
Right.
But the one that you didn't show up for, technically it's a council event.
Because he was here.
Is there one that you didn't show up for? I got rid of the one. So it's a new council. Technically, that's
What am I doing? Take one and back.
we can share.
It says Kristin.
Hello.
Did she hear you? Oh, no. Did you hear what he said? He said it's wonderful to have Kristin here
That's my sister-in-law.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, she was, my brother was the one that was instrumental in putting that packet
Yeah, you guys like that?
No.
Saved the mayor's life already. I bet it. So it's actually very nice. If you're on South 18 time, it's a site for people to walk. There's a lot of distance. But they come out like that's looking good. Yeah. Good. All right. We'll call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting. Can we please begin with roll call?
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
Shimmers.
Here.
Oberon.
Here.
Mussman.
Here.
Kearns.
Here. All right. Our first item is an update on Bureau of Justice Assistance Comprehensive Opioid Abuse Site-Based Program Grant. That's a lot of words. Kristin.
Hi, my name is Kristin Huisenga, and I'm the Executive Director of the Clinton Substance Abuse Council. And as I was looking at the council and realizing I haven't been here for a while because of COVID, I probably should just tell you a little bit more about me and our agency so you can kind of connect all the dots. We are the Clinton Substance Abuse Council. We've been in town for 31 years, since 1989, so we've been around a long time. And here locally, you might be more familiar with Gateway Impact Coalition. So that's our local substance use coalition, and we primarily focus on prevention. So this was a little bit different for us going into the treatment and recovery arena, but but I think it's all important for us to know that this is someone's mom, dad, brother, sister, right? And so we know how important treatment and recovery is. So also, just as a good reminder, because prevention is really my hat that I wear most of the time, is you guys have power to make, policies and procedures about different things that impact youth, and prevention is so important. We know even most people that use opioids, even if they start as a kid or an adult, they started with something else first. Almost always they started by using marijuana, alcohol, pills, vaping, something they started first. So when they were introduced, it kind of started on that path. So just want to share that. And I helped with this particular grant as the project director. So the city has contracted with me to help with this. And then I also help with the crime-free housing project, providing technical assistance. So if it has to do with drugs, I probably have my finger on it in some way, shape, or form. Not what my kids say, that my mom does drugs, is what they told their teacher, which is not accurate. But if it has to do with drugs, I might have a little something to do with it here in the city. So. So a little bit, overview. In 2018, y'all were awarded $500,000 for the Comprehensive Opiate Abuse Program, and that grant currently is in carryover. Okay, it was supposed to be a 2-year grant. It was $500,000, and we're kind of in year 3, and we've actually asked to carry it over through December. You approved that a couple of meetings ago, and that was just really the holdup for all this has been COVID stuff. We haven't been able to do everything that we wanted to do, a lot of the outreach because of that. So the first goal as part of this project is an MDT. So basically what this means is we have a bunch of team members working together. So for you guys, they're contractors, right, with the city that you've entered into MOUs with. I've listed the city's current MOUs, and I put contact information in case you have more questions and want to know about those individual parts. And then, of course, you have city leads. So the city's very involved in this project as well, and I put the people that are most directly, but I know they're supervised here by the chiefs in the back. So you could probably ask them those questions as well. And Anita and Sarah have been awesome with all the finance and grant reports and all the things that they've had to do for a federal grant. So this grant, like I said, should end at the end of September. We should hopefully receive that approval for carryover. And then on the heels of that, you also approved and we applied for a COSAP grant. Same grant essentially, except for they added the word stimulant, okay? So basically we can include methamphetamine in our project and try to do some different things with that as well. And that is for $600,000 for 3 years. So the project looks very similar, but it's expanded. And I'm going to talk about some of the weaknesses that we identified, kind of our first, or maybe not weaknesses, room for improvement, that we identified throughout the first year or two of the project and how we wrote that to fix that into our second project. So in addition, Life Connections, just adding that, I'll come back to her in a little bit, but providing more options for treatment in our community. So we have this MDT. We meet about every other week to once a month, and we kind of just staff what's happening. Are we getting people? Are we reaching out to people? Are we having them show up when the DART officer is giving a DART card, which y'all have that little card in front of you? Are they actually calling to schedule a substance use assessment? If not, what's happening in between? So we're kind of just going through this whole process to see where the gaps are, okay? And then we have this drug abuse response team, and the chiefs in the back could speak to it probably better than I can, but I do know that we have 6 individuals from the Clinton Police Department and 6 from the Clinton Fire Department, as well as a treatment provider. So they're responding to overdoses, not in real time, but following up. So, and our goal is to follow up on 100% of overdoses. We're doing 100% of the overdoses that we know about. So this is kind of a weakness that we've identified. We don't always know, right, that this has happened. And so since this program started, there have been 560 contacts for this program. More cards than that have been given out because I think you guys ordered like 2,000 of them or something. So more of them, but actually 560 contacts. Of those individuals, 108 were referred to the substance use or co-occurring program. 47 of those individuals received substance use assessments, and then 43 of them received substance abuse treatment services. So really excited about those numbers. In addition, as part of this project, so if you don't know, basically it's for people that are addicted to opioids specifically. They could have a co-occurring disorder, meaning that maybe they have a mental health issue, but then they also may be polysubstance users using multiple drugs. So, but they have to have opiates somewhere in this program file, okay? And so As part of this project, they can get treatment at Mercy, and Laura's here, and she's going to share that piece of it with y'all. But in addition to that, it's not like a dose-and-go sort of clinic. They have to get substance abuse treatment along with that, and then they get case management, and then we also provide them the option for peer support. So that would be a person that's already kind of navigated through this and can help them and give them support in the times of crisis. So we're really trying to wrap them around to make them as successful as possible. So if people aren't ready, also for treatment, we still try to put that recovery support and get them when they are ready. All right, so some barriers identified. We know that some individuals are just not ready for treatment. So we have 500 and some people that we're trying to talk to, right? But some people just aren't ready, and there's nothing we can really do about that. If an individual is ready for treatment now and we don't act on that, we realize that sometimes we miss that window, right? So being able to act quicker on those, if somebody says, yes, I want help, how can we get them help now, right? The current wait time for an assessment is about 2 days, but a lot can happen in 2 days. We all know this.
Was that 2 days? Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that 2 days considered now or not really? What's your now?
That's
Is it like
not,
within
no,
24
we want
hours?
that faster. That's the weakness that we've identified. So we're going to talk about the COSAP grant, trying to even fill in that in a little bit. Or individuals don't want to comply with all treatments. They just want to come and get the medicine. They don't want to deal with anything else. And so they're probably not somebody that's going to be interested in signing up for the program. And sometimes lack of options for treatment. So that could be either the substance use treatment provider. Until April of this year, we had one in town, right? And now we have two. Life Connections is the additional one. And also, our MAT clinic is only open Wednesday afternoons from 1 to 5. So if that conflicts with your work schedule or there's a conflict with the provider for any reason, there just could be reasons that that doesn't work for that individual. So as part of the COSAP grant, additional provider, additional times is the plan to expand them. And additional substance use treatment providers. So those are listed under the future barriers to address. And if you have somebody that needs help, I put the information there so you could contact them with this program. And for overdoses, we're not getting to 100%. We're trying, but we know this is the number of overdoses that we've had, and we have to report to the government on a quarterly basis. So those are the numbers. So last year there was about 37 that have been reported through this program. These are not fatal overdoses, I should mention, right? We know that 37 people have died from this, but we have had a number of fatal overdoses in our community. And we're trying to fill in the holes, and one thing that's always comes up is HIPAA barriers. How can we do this to make sure that everybody stays compliant with what they need to stay compliant with? So that's kind of like the overview of the general program. Do you all have any questions before I have Laura talk specifically about the MAT piece of it? All right, I'm going to just say two other things. Here's your team, right? So we want to be friendly and let them know who they're working with. So this is who they can contact and more about it. And there's a visual next week, and we invite you all to attend. So it's really important to be a community that supports recovery as well. So here's Laura.
I'm Laura Norris. I am the nurse for Mercy One, the MAT clinic on Main Avenue. And one thing I wanted to mention about why we got started late besides COVID. We had the grant in December 2018. It took us until April, May, I think, to get a provider that was willing to work with this patient population, which breaks my heart because nobody chooses to have a substance use issue. A lot of our patients are generational, learned it from their parents. A lot of them have abuse background, so we're just trying to get them back to a normal life that they want for themselves. There's some statistics on here that I compiled from when we did open. We opened finally in October of 2019, so we're coming up on 2 years. Since that time, so the grant was originally written that we were going to treat 20 people in the 2 years that we originally had the funding. We have treated 54 people. Of those 54, the most important statistic of the 32 that have been discharged are the 11 that have missed visits and have not returned. Those are the ones that we've lost to the system. They've gone back to their pattern of use. The rest of them we didn't really have control over. They needed a higher level of care. 2 have been and may still be incarcerated. Those I can't really do anything about in my clinic. But the 11, I still keep trying to get them back in the system to get some services from us. So that's only a 20%. I don't want to say failure rate, I hate that word, but loss to services. That is unheard of in this industry. And part of the reason we're so successful is because of that wraparound service. I'm the face they see, I'm the face they talk to. I go to the ER, I hound them if I have a phone that works for them. If I know their parents, I hound their parents to get them into treatment. If they can just say yes that first time, then they'll see that they can be successful. They just have to say yes that first time. I can't go to the ER overnight, so I can't catch those people, but I catch whoever I can. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is the majority of people we have helped are from Iowa, 49 from Iowa, 5 from Illinois. We would treat more people from Illinois. The challenge is, since I'm affiliated with Mercy One, we have to accept their insurance. The grant does not currently pay for services. They'll pay for medication. So that's the challenge. If I could get some additional funding to take anybody from Illinois, I would. But right now, that's our restriction. So, and you can see by the age range, we treat anybody from 24 to 63 years old. There's not a particular age that is suffering from this disorder. So, any questions I can answer?
What's your best success story?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I could talk for 20 minutes. Most recent one, a 30-year-old male who came in, also generational. He had been offered some pills at a party and decided to take it, and he wanted to be in recovery at the age of 30. He just turned 30. There's a mother who was offered heroin for weight loss, and that's how she got started. Her daughter also is struggling, so they're trying together to maintain their recovery. One person who's gotten their job back, they worked there for 12 years, then when they started having substance use issues, they were let go. Now they've gotten their job back at the same company. Yeah, there's so many. There's a gentleman who lost his girlfriend to a fatal overdose. That came the next week to our program, and he's been with us for over 18 months. So patients who've gotten their children back, yeah, it's just, I'm passionate because they're people with a problem, not a problem, and I want to help them get their life back. So it's very rewarding.
Cool.
So thank you for allowing us to do
Yeah.
this. So.
Thank you.
I can share one more. I think it's a success story for the police department, but we had an individual share with us that was part of the program. The police are just gentler with us. And that means a lot to them because they knew that they wanted to help them to get into recovery because they realized that they weren't a problem. They just wanted to. But I think that that's great because that got that person into recovery, right? Before it wasn't working, but being that gentler approach, letting them know that they cared about them as a person and what happened to them, they were able to get them into the services that they needed.
Yeah. Cool.
So it takes a community, right?
And what about the firefighters? We haven't heard nothing about them yet.
Yeah, so they're part of the DART team as well. And they would be, I would say, they reference police, that person did in the example, but it's the entire DART team, right? And I know that they're offering on all the overdoses right there, they're offering to get those people referrals to treatment, and I know they have those success stories as well.
Those are good numbers.
Yeah.
So, and Kristin, is this mainly federal dollars?
That's all federal dollars.
So I'm just curious too, because, you know, all communities have similar problems or worse, and yet, you know, now all the money for mental health has moved to the state level. So I'm just curious of all the success we've had, if we couldn't maybe get some sustainable dollars from the state to keep moving this forward. Because the stories you told, if we're told to the governor and her crew there, would be like, why aren't we providing money to this? Because this is something successful that didn't come from state dollars. It came from federal dollars.
Well, and a lot of the money is meant to be like seed money in the sense of they want us to be billing for some of these services and figuring those out. So when the money does go away, we can still keep going and doing these different projects, right? So it does not, when the money goes away,
And
you know, the solution goes away. But how can we make this sustainable? And that's worked into. I know that's a big thing. This is all new for everybody. So just figuring out how you can bill and do the right things and take care of all of that is really important.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the items that we are dealing with up here is homelessness issues. Are the people that you are serving, are they homeless? Are they not homeless? Are they, I mean, is it a gamut of everything?
99% of the people have stable housing, yeah. The one person who was homeless, once he got active in recovery, he was able to secure housing through crime-free housing. So, yeah, the majority of them have, they're either couch surfing with friends or their families are supportive in housing, not necessarily in recovery support, but
Money well
yeah.
spent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, another kudos to the police department. We had one person sustained recovery that wanted to move into an apartment, but he didn't know what side of town to live on. He now has a fiance and a small child that wants to live with him. So I connected him with Sergeant Wade to determine appropriate housing for them through crime-free housing. So,
That's
and
awesome.
he had a misdemeanor on his record, so he was challenged, but it was 15 years ago. So that was another success story.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I could talk for 20 minutes. So I
I
love
like
what
to put,
I
I
do.
like to put them on South 16th Street.
I will say, as part of the, we know that that's a slipperier population, right, the homeless population, and that is also one that I reference, if we don't get them treatment now, how are we gonna get a hold of them? They don't have a phone, they don't have a stable place to go, so even when the officers go back to find them, they're not there where they were last time, right? And so that's why it's so important to be able to act literally immediately, to get them help.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments from council?
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right. We'll go to next item. Our
Dr.
Public
Lemke.
Works Director.
I think we've changed this like 15 times.
Maybe not 15.
Mayor, council, Matt, Lisa, lawyer, I do not know.
This is Kyle.
He's a mass lawyer. When you ever heard that?
Brian Lemke, Public Works. Okay, so the purpose of this conversation is change calendar parking to a set time period each year rather than only during a snow event. Then a little background. Public Works currently activates calendar parking with the occurrence of snow event, which is defined as the accumulation of an inch or more snow upon the right-of-ways. Calendar parking ends 24 hours after the snow has stopped, so we don't get a whole lot of time on both sides of the street. Public Works requires right-of-ways to be free of congestion as much as possible for safe and efficient snow removal during the winter months. With vehicles parked on both sides of the street during the winter months, it is difficult for snow removal equipment to maneuver through the routes, particularly in residential areas. Often snow plows are unable to fit between two parked vehicles and have to back up out of the street, which adds another level of safety concerns. It would be proposed that two changes occur with the calendar parking. First, it would be proposed that calendar parking be in place every day during the entire winter season each year. This would alleviate confusion and would greatly aid in the city's ability to clear and maintain the city streets during the winter months. Second, it would be proposed that the calendar parking also be in place for part of the fall and spring season to aid in the street sweeping process, as during these times of the year, debris in the roadway is prevalent. Accordingly, it would be proposed that calendar parking be in effect from October 15th through April 30th. During snow emergencies, there still would be no parking allowed on any of the snow routes. No change is proposed there. Budget impact: enacting calendar parking as outlined above would provide better efficient and safety in clearing the city streets during the fall, winter, and spring. And the recommendation is that the council move the ordinance forward to the next council meeting for the first consideration as presented. And then I'll go over the ordinance here a little bit, what we proposed to change. Okay, and under 79.10 calendar parking, section A, we would like to strike activated with the occurrence of a snow event, which is defined as the accumulation of 1 inch or more of snow upon the public right-of-ways, and then have it read as calendar parking shall be, for the entirety of the dates stated below. In section B, we would like to strike November 15th through March 15th, and when snow event has occurred, and have it read during the period from October 15th through April 30th, parking is restricted in the public right-of-way to alternate sides of the road in the following manner. And then under B, number 2, strike altogether, a snow event will remain in effect for 24 hours after the snow has stopped. And then part 5, we would like to strike calendar parking shall be in effect except on, and have it read as during a snow emergency. No parking on any portion of the street will be permitted on designated snow routes. until the snow emergency has been canceled. And those are the changes in the ordinance. So,
All right. Open it up to council.
You're just saying no parking on the street whatsoever on a snow route
during the snow event.
during a snow event.
Right.
Right.
So our snow plow's like straight,
Right.
you know, and every time we're going around vehicles, you know, we go out and, you know, people are generally pretty good the way it is, but 24 hours is a little bit subjective, and then we get in a habit of doing it all the time. And then when we go out days after, like this first storm last year, where we had some learnings,
A few.
you know, we were at it for 2-3 weeks afterwards trying to get the ice up. And then, you know, then we'd get calls, hey, you plowed our car in or whatever. Just the straight shots and getting into the rhythm and just doing it all the time, I think is going to make us much more efficient, and it's going to be much easier to clear.
But literally for 6 months out of the year, you're gonna have to rotate back and forth and you see some of these streets down here and there's hardly enough parking on both sides.
Right. Yeah.
So now for 6 months, and we're starting this on October, you're likely gonna have a month plus with nothing, and you're gonna be rotating. That's gonna be really frustrating for residents.
Well, the front end and the back end is for street sweeping, and for us to get through the street, it takes all the whole entire street department. There's 5 of them. There's 2.
How are we gonna enforce this? I mean, how are you gonna how's the police department gonna ticket people when it's October 16th? There's, you know, and it's 70 degrees and they're running around saying, hey, snow. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying. No matter what we do, people are gonna question it.
I get what you wanna do. I really get it, but I think we're gonna have a lot of upset people.
I think there's 2 parts of it. I think there's a lot of people that don't know when it's activated, when it goes into effect. So it would clear a lot of things up. It's just in effect all the time. But then you have the I got to move it every night for the next 6 months. You know, so that's the other side of it. Like
right, and you can argue both ways. And then
Yeah.
on the flip side, during the winter, we're gonna have complaints that things aren't done.
right,
You know,
yeah,
you wouldn't believe all the constructive criticism I got last year.
right. But then you go see the mound of snow around where they were parked, and
Councilmember Oben, you had to stand up.
Let's, everybody put on your Wayback Machine hat and go back to 10 years, 15, 20 years ago. This keeps coming up, constantly
It's been
coming
changed
up.
twice since I've been here.
It's been changed, and, you know, we have a wonderful Public Works Director that is looking to make things better. And what, you know, Councilman Seeley just said, you know, we're asking the residents to figure out what side of the street they need to park on based on,
odd day calendar or whatever.
you know,
Not even.
yeah, and, you know, if we say that we're going to do this, which I think we hope we don't want to do this tonight because we need to kind of basically do a lot of research and get a lot of input back. Say we're going to do it tonight, we're going to have to move our city council meeting next meeting because we're going to have to go to a bigger place of all the people that are going to be in here that don't understand. They don't understand it to start with.
Well,
You know, what's calendar parking, they don't understand.
7th Avenue South, for instance.
Sure, yeah,
And both sides of that street at night when everyone's home, they're full.
they're full.
Both sides.
The
So
garages.
if you
what's
eliminate
wrong with
one
those?
side,
Let's
you
use
know.
the garages, let's use the alleys.
Well, and that's,
And maybe we'd have to
Right.
plow the,
the
maybe we'd
streets
have to
are
plow the
there for
alleys
the
if we could
public.
get
You
this.
can't tell inconvenience
Cody, there's a
people.
lot of suburbs around the country that
Yes,
don't allow
Rhonda,
you to
but
park on the
back up.
streets.
You have a driveway at home, and a
I
lot of
do.
people don't.
I do, but
Okay.
listen, let me tell you, there's a lot of my
So that's
neighbors
not
that park
fair.
on the street and
That's not fair
you
to
deal
say.
with it. But there's pros and cons, right? There's both sides.
There are, but
So the pros are, it's hard to know.
Better talk.
It's hard to know in the middle of the night that it's snowing, but this will at least allow one side of the street to be cleared, right? I mean, that's a given. And it allows the streets to be cleared faster so that maybe they would have time to do some of the alleys around town. You know, just a suggestion, right?
No, hey, no one's gonna hurt my feelings, first of all.
Complaints that the streets aren't clear. Those are the pros,
This-
right?
this-
That's a perfect world.
Conversation is good, and you always got to be thinking out of the box. Round number 1, all right? So then there's so many different ways you can do things. We can say, all right, the month of November for street sweeping is going to be calendar parking. Then when we go after November, we can go, all right, our snow events are now going to be 2 weeks because in general, it takes us 2 weeks to get through everything. By the time we pile the snow up and we go through and we pick it all up and we take it away. And then we can say, all right, in April, because if it's cold, if it's too cold, we can't get the leaves and everything up there. So this is the start of debate. We're doing it one way right now. It's not working, okay? And believe it or not, it's not constructive criticism.
Oh, no.
So
It's not.
we're trying to improve it. So the debate is good.
Rhonda, did you have
We
some
have to
more?
do something. We have to
Hold
do
on.
something better than what we're doing now.
Rhonda had a few, I think she had a few more.
So, for example, last year was a disaster, you know that, you've admitted it, but every year, not just last year, every year, try to drive down Pershing with the cars on both sides of the streets. I mean,
That's rough.
it's tough. You almost can't get a car down there sometimes, and we want these guys to put a snowplow down there. So an alternative, which I suggested last year, was take some of these narrow streets to one side of the street parking every day of the year, because then they'd have an easier time. There's ways that you can work around this, and the answer is not to do nothing. We have to do something, because otherwise, we could have exactly the same thing that happened last year, which thank God it happened last year and not the year before, because it's fresh in all of our minds, that we need to come up with a solution, whatever it is.
Okay.
And you're making a real assumption here that it's going to snow.
It's going to snow. We live in Iowa.
I mean, it's crazy, but that's one of the biggest comments that we got years ago is it wasn't snowing, and I have to change, alternate street parking. Why? Because of the snow. Well, it's not snowing. And we're going. We're going to go off the other side to say, hey, it's going to snow every week, or it's not going to. I understand what we're trying to do here. We got to come up with something. Rhonda made the great suggestion. We got to come up with something because it's not working the way it is.
Different parts of town, it's going to apply differently.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
Yes.
I would.
It goes through the enforcement policy too. Is really the police department going to enforce this when we get down to November 5th and it is 70 degrees and leaves are still on the trees? Are they really going to waste their time with that? That's
exactly.
But then 3 days later, we may have 3 inches of snow.
Right.
With the leaves. With leaves.
When I was reading this, I have a little bit of concern. Kind of what Councilmember Seeley was saying was the length of time concerns me a little bit. Having calendar parking for October to April. I grew up November 15th to March 15th. I had to move my car every night before school because I didn't have a spot to park in a driveway. So, yes, it's frustrating, but I mean, I made it through, even though my dad probably almost killed me a couple times when I got a ticket. But I don't know. I think the length of time on this, it's going to be a hard sell to me, to the citizens, to say you got to do it from October 15th because we're going to do street sweeping. I think that'll be a hard sell. The calendar parking side of it for the snow emergencies, I think we can work through that. But that's just my thought as I was looking through it initially.
I want to look back and see what we just changed it from
It was
to.
when Craig was here,
Yeah.
like right when he got here, shortly after.
Well, I'd like to see what has changed from to prior to that. Well, hey, Greg, if you can dig up your old record.
That way back machine.
Midnight, right? You got to move your car by midnight.
If by midnight,
Yeah.
and then it was, was it 9 o'clock in the morning for a while?
9 a.m. to 6 a.m., like it says
Yeah.
there.
And it was midnight, so that at 10 o'clock at night, you have to figure out at midnight what side of the street.
You're right.
Supposed to be on. And it was confusing as all get out.
Yes.
What if we have everyone park in their front yards during the winter?
That solved the problem.
We're giving them a nuisance violation.
Giving them for less.
I agree. There needs to be. We got to do something. I do agree there as well.
Well, and I understand what Brian is after. I mean,
Oh, I get it, too.
We have to,
Yeah, it's gonna be
provide
nightmare.
more than 24 hours or 48
Yeah.
hours to clear streets when we have significant snowfall. It would be wonderful to keep as much out of the sewers as we can. I mean, that just helps us in the big long run, but, how do we accomplish all that? And, Councilman Sean, your idea of, it's gonna, trees or leaves are still on the trees and we just had a 3-inch snowfall and we still have, leaves on the trees. How does that all work? I mean, we live in Iowa. You said it. We live in Iowa. So we've got to find somewhere that we're gonna make this work, especially when we have, you know, a public works department that is phenomenal in what they do to start with. How do we make it easier for them, you know?
And he's got to deal with manpower.
And
That's the
manpower
other-
on top
Well,
of
I'm
it
getting
too.
yelled
Your
at.
your wheels are turning. Go ahead.
I hate to ask this question, but do we not have a committee and throw some of this back on the citizens to help us resolve this instead of
Yeah, that's
7
good.
angry jurors?
What committee? Traffic study?
Maybe?
Traffic study, somebody?
Neighborhood improvement.
Maybe
Neighborhood
improvement, try to solve it.
And-
It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
And it is something it has to get fixed, but it probably should be fixed with a bigger group of people, of the citizens that are actually affected by a lot of this. Just my thought.
I mean,
My folks live in Racine, Wisconsin. They do not have green waste cans for yard waste. They actually have everybody move the leaves into the street on one side.
Yeah.
They come by with the big old front
Vacuum
scoopers.
thingy?
And some vacuums, a lot of it's they basically lift it with a front end loader, load it in the truck, and it goes out to the landfill. But everybody parks, and they all know. You just change. Every other day you're changing streets.
There are some
And it
others-
helps with the garbage pickup too, because
Yes.
they put the garbage cans on one side, the cars are on the other side.
Ah.
So the neighbors actually have the
And
garbage cans.
assuming if you have adequate
But just for
parking,
rhythm, just for
yeah,
rhythm.
yeah, once you get into the rhythm, it's probably not an
Because you're like,
issue.
what day is it?
As long as there's enough room.
Yes.
Well, so
And
that
you're
would be
right,
the
but-
thought. Would you think about, instead of going twice up and down the street, would you say, hey, calendar parking, you're parking over there, your garbage cans come over here?
But what
They're in their
about
neighbor's yard, and that's just what it is. I mean,
an elderly
that's-
person's gonna have,
Yeah.
there's certain, there's probably.
There's always going to be pros and
But
cons
I
to
like
everything.
to, I like to nick though neighborhood improvement, because I also like what Councilmember Seeley said is on the regards of our city's all different,
Yes.
right? We have
Every
2-lane
neighborhood.
roads, 3-lane roads, 8-lane roads, all different stuff. So maybe what they do is they look at the different areas of it,
Yeah.
and then they can, the ward, the folks from the Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4, they could actually be part of that too, because
Yeah.
Ward 4 may be different than Ward 1.
Yeah, and Rhonda had a great point, because there's some roads that are super narrow. 7th Avenue South is super wide.
It's going to be difficult to
Yeah.
split it up for different parts of the city, though.
But maybe.
Yeah, the
we
approach.
do
I mean,
need
it's
to-
Like if you live here, you do this. If you live
that's the
here,
hard
you do
part
this.
about
That's
it.
going to be
So-
challenging
Yeah.
for enforcement purposes.
Could we task the neighborhood improvement and the traffic commission to work together? Because maybe there are some streets that should be parking on one side only, and maybe that is a start to getting them thinking
And
about.
that actually get Jason involved, right, because he's part of traffic study.
Traffic
and
study's
he-
got a retired public works
Or
director sitting on
Zane,
it.
yeah.
Well, we have a member right in the back there in the white
Yes, I
shirt.
do, he's not listening, but he is
Yeah.
there.
I think the fire department should get involved too.
Do you think your guys that are doing the garbage pickup and everything would be able to get a pretty good idea of maybe some suggestions on roads
Oh, that's a
that
good idea.
could be
Yeah, there you go.
one side and not both sides parking? I mean, they're the ones that are out there on the front lines every day
Squeeze in between.
driving the big truck,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
I think that would be a good start as well. Maybe put something together for those other committees to work with, because,
And where we'd want just one side parking through the winter.
well, I mean, I think they're talking about permanently one side parking, right? If there's streets out there that need to be changed to one side all the time.
Well, we have a few out there now, and that's what we made the 1-ton trucks that can fit through it.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
have specific routes for them to run, so
Yeah.
that helped a lot of that.
Okay.
So I do have a letter of opposition that I will forward to everybody on the council, because I think, everybody needs to know. And he's got a good point. He said that people, it's Chad Jensen, but he said that, people are already looking at this as a money opportunity for the city. We all know that there's a lot more going on than trying to make money but
Go, Chad.
it's perception. But it's not his perception. He's
The
hearing
money
from other
I'm-
people too.
Good Lord.
Oh,
I understand.
Actually,
I understand.
There's probably not
is that your
very
plan,
many
Brian?
tickets.
What's that?
You're gonna
Yeah,
write
that's-
tickets?
yeah.
No.
Actually, the tickets were going to be warnings to start too. We
Yeah,
had that
yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, I think
Give
But
warnings.
we'd have to work through all
Yeah.
that, but I mean,
Chad should volunteer to be on one of the committees to help us figure this out.
We're going to donate the money to
Keep on-
the
keep on
bicycle
going.
shop.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's get it figured
Yeah.
out.
We'll get it
So
figured
you
out.
can make it
Yeah.
work better. I get it. That's gotta be hard.
I mean, you're not gonna please all the people all the time. You're always gonna have somebody that's gonna.
Oh, yeah.
His next ordinance was going to be electric cars only, and all our gas cars have to leave. So we did put that on here.
We'll leave that for the federal government to figure out.
Is there any other comments from council on this?
Well, I know he was really hoping for a recommendation tonight, or I think it's going to get kicked to a committee.
what is going to happen?
So it sounds like you guys want to kick it to the Traffic Study Commission and the Neighborhood Improvement,
I would recommend just throwing it to the NIC first.
to the Neighborhood Improvement
I'd like to
first.
see them both work out.
No,
to be
no,
honest with you.
yeah, but I mean, give it to them to take the lead on, and then they can get.
I think if you're going to look at doing parking on one side of a street that has two currently, the Traffic Commission is the place that you're going to have to do that too.
That's why I say like a joint, if they wanted to hold a joint meeting together, that would be nice.
And maybe the parking thing is not necessary. Maybe the calendar parking can solve it.
Yeah. Oh, Brian, you've opened a
What-
can of worms here.
What?
Welcome.
Okay, we have some history in the room. What's been the feedback in the past, Chiefs? Do you? Or, well, I guess you.
Why'd you look at Tom when you said history in the room?
Well, Tom, I was going to go to Tom next. No, you guys have had these. You guys have been in these discussions before, so.
I think you guys better get body.
Okay, bodyguards. Perfect.
Matt, can you pull a couple of the old ordinances for us?
Okay.
I just want to see what we all done. That way.
Talking about single-sided parking, that's in beige in front of
Okay. Okay. So Chief said that some courts and things where there's double side parking is difficult in the summer for trucks to get down. So
So all year round.
I think we're opening up a big thing here, obviously.
Oh, we are.
If you're going to talk about doing
There's going
that.
to be a lot of citizens that are, going to be armchair bandits as soon as we do something. So I think as many times we can touch people out there to get input would be nice. Before we,
Well, and not just input and saying that they don't like something, give a
Right.
solution.
Yeah, right.
Can
Like,
we-
what would you suggest?
Could we put a survey out there?
We could.
I mean, what I guess
Hard, they're not- I mean, not scientific, like Facebook, but.
do we have anybody that can reach out and find some creative solutions that other cities have done? Like you mentioned Wisconsin, obviously they have a significant amount of snowfall. Is there a way to kind of see what some of those places, Minnesota, Wisconsin, are doing? Because sometimes we look like that as far as the amount of snow. Sometimes we don't.
Well, and actually, we're kind of blessed, believe it or not. I know Councilmember Kearns mentioned plowing the alleys, but a lot of cities don't have the alleys to park. It's all on street. Everything's on. I mean, you go into Chicago, there's nowhere to park your car.
Parking, yeah.
But they do it. They get it done, and they tow your car. So
But you go to the suburbs and there's no parking on
true.
the street overnight, so they have all night to clear them up.
Yep.
Right.
So it's, there's a whole gamut of things out there that to do.
But I think it's a good conversation.
Yeah. Any other comments from council? Do we need a motion to send it to a committee?
Mr. Matt said he'd pull some of the old ordinances so we could see what we've done in the past.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time here to look at something before we probably schedule.
Thanks, Brian.
Now we're going to get a snow event here soon.
Don't jinx us.
Thank you, Brian.
We get a snow event in August, I'll get the plow truck out and do it myself.
You heard him.
Wait,
Brian, you heard him.
Do we need a motion to send it to a committee?
Oh,
I'll make the motion to send it to the NIC with the traffic safety invited. I don't know whether they want to or not, but to work through this suggested changes or hopeful solutions.
Okay.
I'm going to give them 45 days to get something kicking.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
But I'd like to add to the discussion. I do think when they start working on that, we have various ways of advertising it to include our water billing, where we have that one line that needs to be put on there as well.
Okay.
And we do need to find ways to get the public involved.
Because it'd be nice to get not only what their comments are,
Yeah.
that's great.
and when's the next?
But solutions.
But the solution with like, where do you live? What street do you park
Yes.
on? Go
have
through your.
off-street parking?
Yeah, do you even have, exactly.
Because I've talked to other people that are involved in that calendar parking on snow routes, and they have to go clear down the end of the street and park in a parking lot. So if you have to do that for 6 months, that's,
Yeah.
That's it, one car per family.
yeah.
Matt, when's the next line?
November 5th. Yeah.
I mean,
I think the word would.
I have the word look at it. Actually,
I would say if we-
messages.
We have a radio show we could get it on.
We have a radio show, yeah, we put on a radio show. But we do have the water billing.
You guys
Or the sewer building, yeah.
We can put it down.
Well, it'd be good to be able to get, and that's why I think the NIC would be good, because it'd be good to get like a little card people could fill out with all the data so we know, or online, so we could actually get that to compile it, because we're going to get everything from, yep, this would be great, to this really is horrible, but hopefully we
Put
can.
it on Facebook.
Well, just put a survey out
You're
there.
braver
like we
than
did
I
for
am.
the,
I go over.
for the Erickson Center up there.
Yeah.
We're on it.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Robinson.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Shimmers.
Yes.
Oben.
Yes.
Mussman.
Yes.
Kearns.
Yes.
If everybody buy Roy's car, they're international cars and they're smaller, we would then not have to have as much space on the
There you
road.
go.
There is. Everybody gets an MGB and a Triumph. No. No MGs. Oh,
And,
there we go.
and for the record, that vote was not to approve this, but to further discuss it. So if anybody's watching, it didn't get approved, we're going to have further discussion from our committees. Okay. All right. Council updates. Councilmember Robinson, you got anything?
Nothing.
Councilmember Seeley?
No.
Councilmember Connell?
No, sir.
Councilmember Shemmers?
Oh, actually, you know what?
Oh, Councilmember Connell.
He's probably gonna say-
We're back.
I lost it.
I did bring up, I had it earlier and I was going to mention after the proclamation, but the September 11th
Yep.
memorial, and then there's another, Tunnels to Towers is doing a big, walk, the gentleman that founded that. And I want to say they're reading, on the 12th, they're reading all of the names that have perished in all of the sites. And
Okay.
so obviously if you can't make it to the 11th here in town, that would be nice to tune into something like that.
Is done, it looks like. The
Yeah.
parking.
Looks good.
How's the mulch?
Thanks.
Councilmember Shemmers, do you have anything?
No, I'll have to pass. I forgot what it was.
All right. Councilmember Oben?
I just want to give a shout out, to the police and fire departments. They've been outstanding when we're putting together this commemoration event. And, I know the two gentlemen in the back haven't been there personally, but your staffs have. And that's been just great, that we have a great event really orchestrated. And so, just.
That's good.
Parking.
Councilmember Mussman?
You said orchestrated.
Councilmember Kearns?
Be something going on there.
All right, I got a few things here. Made a list. First off, I would like to mention that we're in voting with the League of Cities for the Jurgensen Soccer Complex. So if you go to the League of Cities Facebook page and you click on the bracket, I think we're getting whipped right now
We were
against the
closer.
library.
As of this afternoon, I think we were a little bit closer.
All right, so we want to go on there, and you got to find the photo of Jurgensen and like that. Do not like the library photo. That's next to it. That's somebody else's. Just go to the Jurgensen.
Sweet 8. That's
Elite 8.
Elite 8. Elite.
Have we done that on Choose Clinton?
So,
Yep, we
yes,
sent it out.
was.
So it's yeah. So that.
The library is at 242. We are at 383. We're ahead.
All right, good.
So keep
Good.
liking it.
Get to the final four.
Keep going. All
We
right.
wish we could have a better picture of the kids on. You can only get one.
The other thing, it's been sent out. There is a county-wide broadband study that's going on right now. So two different things. One, at your home, please log into that, fill out that thing, and you're going to test your speed. It's got a link to it. You put your speeds in there, and you roll through that. I think Eric Van Lanker was saying yesterday they would prefer you plugged into a network cord, but most people's computers don't have that anymore, so do it Wi-Fi. You'll be fine.
Well, if you go to your router and plug into your router, that's the way you'll actually.
Yeah, but most people don't have you can't plug them in anymore.
I think there's another different jack on there that will.
Yeah.
Usually.
But either way, fill it out.
That's-
The other thing is, if you own a business or you work at a business and you can be the designee for that, fill it out there as well under that business name, because the more responses that we get, the better. So make sure if you have that opportunity to do it as a business and personally at home, please fill that out, because it's extremely important as we look for the gaps in broadband throughout the county. I think with the plan between the county and the city, we really could be the leader in broadband accessibility for our citizens in the state. So hopefully we can get that rolling. If you're interested in being on city council, it has opened up to get papers, so you can go get your signatures. There, I think, was it September 15th or 16th? 16th is the last day to turn that stuff in for the voting in November. Oh, what else do I got? And the last thing, I would like to give a big kudos and a thank you to the Board of Supervisors for supporting the Clinton CAT grant application. We found late in the game that it required a 10% match from the county because it's a 30-mile radius, and that 30 miles would get us out into the county area. So they voted unanimously to support us up to $40,000. We asked for $400 for the grant. We could be awarded less or that amount, but maximum $40,000 from the county. So I appreciate the support from the county on that. It's mainly the marina piece is what the grant is for, to work on that project to go along with our match of the $300,000 that we had in the marina fund, and then all the other great things that we're doing on Riverfront going forward. So.
Great salesman out.
Yeah, there was a very good salesman at the meeting yesterday. Yep. What's that? Yeah. So you're welcome, council, for going to the meeting on Monday. So that is all I have. Is there anything else from council? All right, we are adjourned. Not so fast, council member.